We've been with Reading Success Plus, like I said, for 3 years now, and he's reading and he loves to read, so we're thrilled. It's been a crucial part for us and able to getting Gabriel to read. Uh, he just has had tutors that have really come alongside him, and his first tutor was like a grandmother figure to him. So he was always anxious to go see her and tell her about his latest game or, so they really invest in your kid, uh, as far as from the relational standpoint. And then he had another tutor who would just like take the last 5 minutes. She knew he would need just a little break and she'd play paper football with him or whatever was interesting to him. Definitely was a strain uh for our family because him being the oldest, if he had this particular behavior around his studies, it would just make the whole day fall apart, uh, and we would all be in a bad mood. And so I think every family can relate to that. Uh, just when you're in this time, you just can't figure out what's going on. You can't figure out uh, what's really lying at the root of some of the bad behavior, and it can you're kind of like a detective. You're putting pieces together, and that's where it's so helpful to have, you know, mentors or people coming alongside you to be able to say, "Hey, like, have you tried this? My kiddo was struggling this way. This is what we did." And I'm just so thankful because I don't know if I would have had the confidence to go out and because I was seeing it as behavior, but really it was a response to something that was going on, like a physiological thing that was going on. For my son, having him be my first, it was hard to kind of to know where all the benchmarks were in a child that's developing in a cognitively normal way. Uh, and I just know that there was a few things that popped up at school when he was in kindergarten where he would be writing and anything that looked like formal, traditional schoolwork, uh, it was emotionally draining on him. He would sometimes cry and, would put his head down and say he wanted to go home. And there was a lot of ways that I kind of wrote that off as, well, he's just a boy. He wants to be doing something else, or he wants to be active, and it's the end of the day. Uh, so there were some things like that that at first, in hindsight, those were reactions to an environment where he didn't feel uh, he just didn't fit in that environment. Everyone else around him was able to move at a pace that and understand concepts that he just wasn't picking up. So moving on into first grade, it just seemed like every time we read the same book, he would still be sounding out the words. It was almost like, uh, sometimes I explain it to him as like sometimes your brain kind of things just kind of like are very bouncy. They bounce off and they don't stick. And so like with reading, it was almost like uh, now have a son that does read, and he picks up, reads a word, and it's like stored in that folder, and I will remember it for the next time. But for my oldest, it was just the repetition and the rules, like being able to everything being explained to the very smallest detail is really how he processes. So, knowing that now, uh, I can move at a different pace for him, and I can also set different goals for him, than I would my other child that tends to not struggle with academics at all. So I think one of the ways and just getting the testing done in general just has this like weight off your shoulders that, oh, okay, like everything's gonna be okay. There's ways to teach this particular child that someone knows exactly how to do that. And it was just, like I said, just a weight lifted off of our shoulders. Like we can now move forward um, on a different path that's going to be best for him. After I had someone mention that Gabriel might have dyslexia and would be worth getting him tested, I didn't waste any time. I went in and I emailed Anne, who's the founder, um, and I reached out and I said, "I'd like to get him in for an assessment as soon as possible." And she was great. I think we got in within a week, maybe the same week. For us, it was quick and it was seamless in as far as getting set up with Reading Success Class. So that's been 2 years now, and now he's really taking off, and he's towards the end of completing his, time at Reading Success Class. A big part of our journey that I didn't really consider was explaining dyslexia to Gabriel. I didn't do that until I think probably our 2nd or 3rd year with Reading Success Plus, when he really started to his stamina with the tutoring, he's kinda like, "When am I gonna be done?" He was starting to ask a lot of questions like that, and really questioning his, verbally, like, questioning his abilities. And that's when I decided to really explain how his brain works and what that means to him. And I found that that was a really huge component that I hadn't considered that helps him uh, to gain some confidence. Reading Success Plus has like a whole wall full of famous people throughout history who have accomplished great things that have had dyslexia. So to be able to say, hey, you have these differences, but there's all these other people who have had that as well and have overcome and done, huge life changing things, things that have changed our world. And for him, now he can say, oh, like I'm different, but he has a little bit more ownership of that and an ability to say, this is something that I get to kinda own a little bit more, so that's been something huge. I wouldn't say that he loves reading at this point, but it's something that I found he can really, he's figured out the genre that he likes, and he's figured out what interests him. But for him, I found that he's really found this magic key to reading, and, reading success helped us with that. For us, the most important thing is just to enjoy reading and enjoy learning. So for us, that's the most we could ask for. I know it's difficult to even make that first appointment to meet with Anne and to get the assessment, is the biggest step, I feel like, is just saying, "Okay, we have a problem here that needs to be addressed," and then moving forward with setting the time out to go do the testing, and then, honestly, the financial responsibility that goes along with that is a barrier for a lot of people, but just that Reading Success Plus is there to work with you, through all of that, and just reach out because the benefits that I've seen for my son just outweigh all of those kinda inconveniences or the financial, barriers that come up. I don't regret it at all, and, I've seen just my son flourishing, where if I wouldn't have done that, I really question where he'd be right now as far as confidence and, uh, academically. So, just to take a leap of faith and to take the next step forward to, seeing if this is something that would be good for your child. For us, it's been, every year we reassess where we're at, how he's doing, um, what our needs are. I'm always in contact with Ian about how things are going, and, uh, she's been a real mentor for me throughout this whole process because she had similar experiences with her son, who now is my son's tutor, uh, and so for that to be available to have that mentorship has been huge for us. Even if we've taken breaks, which we have, we've taken breaks because we felt that for all of our for all of us as a family, we need to take breaks at times. And, the fact that the tutors and who's like our mentor support us, 100% in that and are always ready to take us back when we come back and start where we left off. So, yeah, that's one thing I would say. And then I don't think I mentioned that my son does math through Reading Success Plus too, which is something that not a lot of people know that also comes alongside with dyslexia is issues with math. And that one becomes glaringly obvious as your child gets older when their math facts aren't sticky. That's something that Reading Success Plus can help with too, is the math component. Um, and something that we take advantage of and seems to be working really well for him. I have another son who is only 6, but I was seeing the same uh, hallmark signs as my oldest. And so I had him tested and he is dyslexic, more mild than my other son. It is something that once you are educated and you're aware of it, it's much easier to see. And I was surprised that in the school that he was at, they weren't catching it. I feel I just feel blessed to have found that out when he was young. Have somebody bring that up to me before it really did its toll on as far as his unemotional, uh, or in relational, like, it was affecting our relationship as, uh, parent relationship as well. Arguing with us every day to go to school and putting up a fight, so things are so much better now, and I guess I would just say to anyone that's struggling with that, there are people to help, and it's definitely worth looking into to see if that will help you.